Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation, this particular lesson, if we will, brothers and sisters, is concerning the portion, the Haftarah portion, the Haftarah portion that we will be reading, brothers and sisters, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 51, going into Isaiah chapter 52. Brothers and sisters, we hope and pray that you all will subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share. And without any further ado, we ask you all to get your pens, your pads, your papers, and let us get into this particular presentation. We're going to pull it up, brothers and sisters, and go into the slideshow and start in this particular case. Shalom, righteous living. Thank you for joining on. Giving honor to the Most High. This presentation will be read in Isaiah 51:12 through 52:12. We ask you all to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment, like, share. I can be reached at 908-587-4841. 908-587-4841. Let us start and show what we're presenting for edification purposes. I, even I, am he that comforteth you. Who art thou that thou art afraid of man that shall die, and of the Son of Man that shall be as grass? Let's understand what's going on right there. The Most High is saying that he, even he, speaking in the first person, as saying, I, even I, am he that comforteth you. So the Most High, being a comfort to the house of Israel, it goes on to say, who art thou that thou art afraid of man that shall die? That is a promise that even the society of America tell you. That two things are promised, quote unquote, taxes and death. So even before their tax system that was created around the time of Lincoln, as you see here in the picture, correct me if I'm wrong on my history, death is a promised matter. So it's more important, perhaps, on how you live. So what legacy one leaves behind. Let's give a little roll call, if you will, in that particular case. Brothers and sisters, you have, for edification purposes, Gabriel Presser, a hero. Harriet Tubman, a heroine, a woman that's a hero. The name of the righteous shall be for a blessing. You have Odo, the Maroon leader in the West Indies. Paul Bogle, Leonard Parkinson, Maroon leaders in the Caribbean. But then when you look at the person understood who got killed by Harriet Tubman, saying that I'm going to turn you in, what's his name? I forgot. I don't even remember reading it in history. Every leader of a people is a hero to the people if he or she is in good standing. This may be the reason why you don't find Israelites named Dathan like that. This may be the reason why, though the name Abiram is not a bad meaning, maybe Abiram, the friend of Dathan, spoiled the idea of people even wanting to be named Abiram. So we want to remember that we need not be afraid of man that shall die. Now, whether you die by the hands of another one, or you die by your own hands and not taking care of yourself, or you die by natural causes, you're going to leave this earth. And of the Son of Man that shall be made as grass. Kazir is the Hebrew word used, translated there as grass, which means like hay. When I lived in the South, I remember seeing how the animals ate grass and how they ate hay. Is that what Isaiah is saying that we will become? And if that is the case, brothers and sisters, why will we want to leave that kind of memory? That's bad, knowing that we're going to be food maybe within a century for the animals. Why treat the animals bad, brothers and sisters? You understand? Now, why did I put that picture there of Lincoln and the soldiers in there? Because our people at that time were very fearful of certain things that may happen. In many cases, they was unsure of their future, of what will be. So Lincoln died by the hands of another man, John Wilkes Booth. Then he, and I don't like to per se use this word, being a coward, had to go and hide in the bushes, and hide in the grass, and what he thought was an insult, having to hide in a black man's cabin, for those who know the history. So looking upon it like that, we are reading, I, even I, the Most High speaking, am he that comforteth you. Who art thou that thou art afraid of man that shall die, and of the Son of Man that shall be made as grass? Shalom, righteous King. Shalom, Dorayahu Ben Dora. Shalom, my love. Sarah, Michaela, Israel. Thank you for the comments. So what can we gather in this particular case? I remember, if I may go there, brothers and sisters, these dudes wanted to beat me up when I was in junior high school. This is true story. They put the call out. I ain't even going to mention the guy's name who they shouted out in the auditorium. It was his cousin who called him out because they saw, or I was seen sitting in there, and they were supposed to quote unquote rush me, aka jump me or attack me, more than one person. What wound up happening was, some days after that, brothers and sisters, the guy that was being called seen me on one of the floors in the school giving thanks unto the Most High. The guy did not want to approach. I can say it might be the Hebrew that he saw on my shirt, but ultimately it was the Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, that says, Al Tiga Oto, do not touch him. The guy that was being called, I come to understand, wound up sadly having to do jail time for some of the stuff that he's done. I say all of that to say, brothers and sisters, why be afraid of man that shall die, and of the Son of Man that should be made as grass? I work in corporate America. I have seen people rise up inside of the person's office and get their own business. The generation born after 1970. You remember the rap group with Ice Cube and Eazy-E and the rest of them? They didn't think by dissing maybe Ice Cube that he was going to formulate his own thing. They didn't think that Dr. Dre would form his own thing. You understand? My point in using these people as an example is, if we know the true and the living God, let's look at, no disrespect intended, some of the camps. Most camps that you see today in 2022 in Israel are splits from other camps of the past. Most brothers who set up new camps state that they've done so because of the disrespect shown to them as a brother or as a man. So now when we read, who art thou that thou art afraid of man, and of the Son of Man that should be made as grass? In the book of Zechariah, it distinctly says what, brothers and sisters? Your fathers, where are they? And the prophets, do they live forever? But the word of Yah is forever. So no, our fathers nor the prophets live forever. But the word that the Most High spoke does. The Most High does not change, brothers and sisters. Man has. And by man, I mean people. And has forgotten Yah, thy maker, that stretched forth the heavens and laid the foundations of the earth, and fears continually all day because of the fury of the oppressor, as he maketh ready to destroy. And where is the fury of the oppressor? So when we worry about this or that, or this may happen or that can, did we forget the one who created the heavens and the earth? Me and my lady was in Egypt, and a lot of people, the pyramid is on the earth that Yahweh, the Most High God, made. Yeah, we went into the pyramid and was like, hey, we love history. But them Hamites that we saw, such as Hatshepsut and Ramses, inside that museum, heard of the Most High. When we saw Sita mummy inside of the museum in Egypt of Dynasty 20, he heard what the god of the Kabiru did in Dynasty 13. Best believe that. Go when you can, if you can to, and find what they said about Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, who brought the plagues upon them. If you don't believe it exists, go to where northern Sudan, not far from modern-day Siwa, and what they call the Temple of West Amara, where they speak of the God of the Hebrews attacking them. Just like this Egypt will. So the point in this, brothers and sisters, when people worry about, quote, the oppressor and everything, like many Israelites did when Ronald Reagan was in office. Oh no, they're going to take away the welfare. What's going to happen? Pharaoh's back. Did we forget about the one who stretched forth the heavens and laid the foundations of the earth? Why do you fear continually, day and night? And I know I'm adding the word night, all the day, because of the fury of the oppressor. You go wake up and go to sleep thinking about this fool? No, Yisrael. We know the one who created the heavens and the earth. So we need not give that energy too much attention that is causing stress, aggravation, discomfort. That's why it starts by saying the Most High is he who comforteth you. In layman terms, he got you. He didn't bring you to a certain place knowing that the Most High does not change. He did not bring you to a certain place to drop you. What has happened, many of us have forgot Yah. Yah did not forget us. Next slide. God's going to trouble the water. He that is bent down shall speedily be loosed, and he shall not go down dying into the pit, neither shall his bread fail. He that is bowed down shall speedily be loosed. Bowed down, downtrodden, oppressed, saddened, dismayed, disillusioned, stressed out, worried, not happy, hiding happiness, crying out with your heart while saying everybody is, hey. The Most High see behind the smile. Thus, like with the camp Shomrei Habrit, one of the things I say in prayer there is Shamana Za'akwat Libotenu. When I say that, I'm asking the Most High, and it's not about me. I just want to translate that sentence in prayer. Shamana, will you hear, please? Or please hear. Za'akwat Libotenu, the crying out of our hearts. And he shall not go down dying into the pit. Yeah, we're going to leave this earth just like an oppressor, but we ain't going to go down like the slave that had no courage. You saw that movie, The Ten Commandments, right? Yeah, we know the true color. That need not have to be emphasized. That which is known need not always be said, right? We know the Egyptians and Israel was of color. That's not the main point, what I'm trying to emphasize here. Remember that scene in that movie, The Ten Commandments, right? Where the guy said, we are men made in the image of God, and then he had the axe thrown at him, and he died there in the mud. And a person playing Moses or dying in the mud said, I will not leave a man to die in the mud. That's what this is talking about in that manner. That's not how we're going to go out, brothers and sisters. For I am the Lord thy God, who stirreth up the sea, that the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. So prior to this slide, we had read, brothers and sisters, where he created the heavens and the earth. And then it talks about how he made the sea and the waves thereof roar. But we worried about man, that while everybody says Maury Yeshai is a big dude, me and my lady was in Costa Rica, I saw, to my wisdom, how far the Most High will allow me to go in that rainforest. I'm stopping right here. Oh, come on, man. No, Elohim does not want me to go further. There's stuff of his creation, even in the Western Hemisphere, I cannot see. I'm saying that to say that if we as men and women, even going as far as a waterfall, I ain't going behind that waterfall. I ain't even going to go to the waterfall. So why are we worried about man when we worship the Most High God, who has things that we are? Nope, I'm going to stop right here. I'm good. I'm right here. I'm good. You know, that's what the Israelite and Hebraic community in Ethiopia do when they have tourists go there talking about they're going to look for the Ark of the Covenant. The tour guide does not take them up the mountains in Simon Mountains in Ethiopia. He stops right there. And if y'all Europeans want to keep on going up, you on your own. I'm stopping right here. You understand? And this is part of the earth that the Most High has made. So my point, brothers and sisters, in going over this Haftarah portion that equates to the portion in Torah called Shofteem, we want to emphasize about the glory of the Most High and how, brothers and sisters, when you're on his side and when he is looking out for us, you can't lose. This is why we say, thank you for protecting us from danger seen and unseen. Next slide. Now, this gets into what we want to get and talk about. Isaiah 51, 16 through 17. And I have put my words in thy mouth, and have covered thee in the shadow of my hand, that I may plant the heavens and lay the foundations of the earth, and say unto Zion, thou art my people. Awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, that has drunk at the hand of Yah, the cup of his fury. Thou hast drunken the beaker, even a cup of staggering, and drained it. Excuse me. What does it say there, brothers and sisters? That the word of the Most High is already put in our mouths to speak it. Covered Israel in the shadow of his hand, that he may plant the heavens and lay the foundations of the earth, and say unto Zion, thou art my people. Zion, you know, in Hebrew is Zion, which means distinguished. This is where you get many Israelites saying the word Metsuyan. Metsuyan meaning excellent. Zion means distinguished in Hebrew, said as Zion. Now the letter Zion, which makes the Z sound itself, means weapon. But Zion with the Zadeh, more so making the TZ or TS sound, brothers and sisters, means Zion means distinguished, from the word Zion, which means to distinguish. I want to, brothers and sisters, explain why did I show this scene here from the movie, Menace to Society. What does it say there for those who do know this scene? It is a scene, brothers and sisters, where they are encouraging the young child, not shown in the picture, to drink alcoholic beverages. What will cause one to do that? I remember sometimes people who went a certain way in life telling the youth, don't follow my pattern. Similar to what was said in the movie, Menace to Society. Teach them the way we grew up was not right. We're going to keep the language clean. So what does it say to us as the house of Israel? Awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem. Brothers and sisters, what did we just read right here? He that is bent down shall speedily be loosed. Even I am he who comforteth you. So in getting comfort and being told that he or she who is bent down shall be loosed. And here, once you're loosed, it is telling you to awake. Stand up, O Jerusalem. And then it describes the situation as saying that has drunk at the hand of Yah the cup of his fury. Let's take, for instance, we know it's a movie, but it's based on real events. Like in, say, Menace to Society. Drunk at the cup of his fury. And Kevin, I've heard stories about you. Cain, you did this. Grandpa, I ain't killed nobody. Cain, can I ask you a question? I'm citing from the movie. Do you care whether you live or die? And the statement to his grandfather was, I don't know. So what can we gather, brothers and sisters, from something such as that? When your grandfather, after your father in the movie, but it is based upon real events, was murdered, after you have seen him kill X and Y, Z people, your mother died of an overdose. Now, having lost both my parents, I understand that's very harsh. So you're living with your grandparents, and your grandfather, though it wasn't specified in the movie whether they were from his mom's side or his dad's side, correct me if I'm wrong, but his grandfather asked him, Cain, do you care whether you live or die? And the statement was, I don't know. How do you not know whether you care to live or die? Not that you will live or die, but don't know whether you care to live or die unless you can equate that history to the kind of prophecy we see here. That has drunk at the hand of Yah, the cup of his fury. Thou hast drunken the beaker. You know what a beaker is? It's bigger than a cup. Even the cup of staggering and drained it. So after the man tells his grandfather, I don't know, with a puzzled look on his face, his man's next to him, or his friend next to him, let me keep it professional, says to him, come on, man, let's go. In the same movie, he says, yo, why you always tripping on us, man? You got a father. Because maybe it was common for fathers to not be around, which we're going to talk about in this presentation. See, the Bible is not, and we talk about the Old Testament, is not a mystery book. We can equate what we read in here in life, thus making it a living book. And the Most High does not fail in giving us hope. He tells you your situation, why your situation is the way it is, and then gives you the solution for it. That's what you call Elohim Tam, a complete, perfect God. Not like the gods of the nations. Something just happened. Well, don't know what the solution is. We're talking Hayah Yihweh. He who was, he who will be. So of course he's going to give you a solution to the problem, an antidote to the sickness. The brother Righteous Living cited Isaiah 3. They forgot the master's crib. That same chapter in Isaiah 1 says the whole head is sick. Who is he talking to besides somebody like shown in this movie giving liquor to somebody who's not even 10 years old? Give it to the little N-word, as he said in it. And drained it. So let's see what happens. You run up on somebody, shoot him in the head in the beginning. That's how it starts. You take a shirt or cloth, add to the stream. If I can be heard and seen, thank you all for bearing with me and patience in this. Man, all right. Start from here. Can I be heard and seen? All right. So thank you for that, family, for bearing with me with this. Yeah, personally, I try not to like show my face. I rather just show the PowerPoint and the words itself. But let's go on, if we will. Awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, that has drunk at the hand of the Most High the cup of his fury. Thou hast drunken a beaker, even a cup of staggering, and drained it. which we've gone over in this, brothers and sisters. Let us go into the next part. Thank you. Isaiah 51, 18 through 19. And it says, there is none to guide her among all the sons whom she has brought forth. Neither is there any that taketh her by the hand of all the sons that she hath brought up. These two things are befallen thee. Who shall bemoan thee? Desolation and destruction. And the famine and the sword, how shall I comfort thee? Now, what did I show in this picture here? This is from a report that during the pandemic stuff, that domestic violence has gone up high in the Black community. That was the point in that. So when it says there is none to guide her among all the sons whom she hath brought up. Brothers and sisters, when a person wants to sit there and be of assistance and help, it hurts when he or she cannot. This is describing what we can know, understand, and relate with us. Centuries before we lived on this earth. Thousands of years when you get right down into it. Brothers and sisters. So when we read, these two things are befallen thee. Who shall bemoan thee? Desolation and destruction. So when we shown earlier, brothers and sisters, about the male aspect, being drunken, say, but not with wine, and drank and drained the cup of the fury of the Most High. And what the men, the sons of Israel, our males, while we talk about Deuteronomy 28, his eyes shall be evil against her, and her eyes shall be evil against him. He takes his frustration out, as shown in the old 1989 movie Straight Outta Brooklyn. He takes his frustration out on the woman of his bosom, or the wife of his bosom. For he hath nothing left him in the siege and the straitness wherein your enemies have straitened us within our gates. Now, recently in 20 so years, wanting to quote unquote gentrify a situation, but having difficulty in doing so. So she feels, get the male out, as was done in the 70s, then receiving all kind of support. She don't need a man, quote, in her life. So now when relationships begin to try to get back to where it could and should have been, we don't know what to do one with another, and we laying hands on the wrong people. So brothers and sisters, where it says there is none to guide her among all the sons whom she has brought forth, neither is there any that taketh her by the hand. You know, one of the things that I was taught as a youngster is when you have someone you love, hold their hand and ask them for their hand as much as possible. The scriptures right here talks about that taketh her by the hand of all the sons that she hath brought up. If the sons in this case are what we're reading of, brothers and sisters, that are filled with the fury of the Most High, how can he take her by the hand? Where is his hands at, brothers and sisters? So we see the effect of what has happened back and forth. Desolation and destruction. Who shall bemoan thee? Because when many of our people, males and females alike, thought that the women's suffrage movement was going to help the quote-unquote Negro women, it did not. They cannot relate to what you talk about when you talk about certain things. So when we read in the Tanakh here in the scriptures, When it says, who shall bemoan thee? Desolation and destruction, and the famine and the sword. Deuteronomy 28 talks about the sword. The sword is pestilence. The sword is annoyance. The sword is lack of peace. And it is asked, how shall I comfort thee? Let's read on and see what will happen. Yeshaya 51, 20-21 reads this. Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of the streets as an antelope in a net. They are full of the fury of the Lord, Yah, the rebuke of thy God. Therefore, hear now this, thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine. What are we seeing right here, brothers and sisters? In putting the presentation together, begin to sit there and see how, and giving honor to the Most High, how such things can and will correlate. They lie at the head of the street as an antelope in a net. They are full of the fury of Yah, the rebuke of thy God. Do you know there's a part in the scriptures where it says, thy men are at the head of the street with their hand on their private parts? Who is known for, quote, chilling on the street with their hands in their pants? Who is known, brothers and sisters, to just be chilling on the corner looking to see what they, quote unquote, get into? All you got to do, if you care to, is watch the smack DVDs, the hood movies, if you will. Brothers and sisters. So we could begin to see what this is talking about. When you find gangsters among our people, no disrespect intended, as opposed to soldiers, you can see how the mentality has changed. In the movie Redemption, that had Jamie Foxx in it, where he was playing the guy who helped start the Crips named Tukey, and he said street warriors. He had to try to reach out to them in order to get them to understand where he was coming from. So the prophets of Israel, we do not want to have it portrayed like Hollywood has it portrayed with Patrick Dempsey playing Jeremiah, where you got a couple of people in sackcloth running around and then Babylon just comes and takes. Israel, as you see in this picture here, was no different than Israel of ancient times. Judges chapter 12. Say Shibboleth. And if the men of Ephraim said Sibolet, they fell upon him like a gangster would. Your soldiering is gone. Consistent war between the house of Jeroboam and Rehoboam. The civil wars that happened with Benjamin and the other tribes of Israel. So when it says she has no sons to take her by the hands, because this is what many sons have become. You turn against each other as gangsters instead of soldiers for your people. You got the warrior spirit, but it's now been perverted. You got that I'm going to go out for mine mentality, my brothers. Flag in the red, flag in the blue, which is colors that ancient Israel used. Which, no disrespect intended, I attempt to point out in a future book. They, in California, call themselves Piru. The Apiru is what Israelites was called in Egypt, brothers and sisters. Apiru, Piru. The Bloods refer to themselves as Damu. Do you know Damu is a Hebrew word? Do you know the word Dam means blood? And brothers and sisters, did you know that when the blood started, it started in Vietnam under a good pretense because the black soldiers came together because the white soldiers were shooting in quote unquote friendly fire the black soldiers. So they came together. For those who watch Dead Presidents, you see them flagging blood signs for those who know the history of it. And that's what was called being called blood. When the Hispanics kept on attacking black men in Rikers Island, the people who were black in Rikers Island formed the bloods that you see in New York. When it came out from Rikers Island into the projects of the Bronx and into some of the projects in Brooklyn, it became horrified. It changed from what it was even originally meant as. Did you know that the Crips started from the Black Panthers? And in some way, shape, form, and fashion, it turned from free lunch meals and helping the community to perversion. So when it says, thy sons have fainted, they lie at the head of the streets as an antelope in a net. They are full of the fury of Yah, the rebuke of thy God. Therefore, hear now this, thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine. How does community revolution and progress, the meaning of the word crip, turn into something that I got to now sit there and try to hurt you because you're wearing a different color? Thank the Most High in 2022 and in 2021 and any year that the blood and crip thing has really subsided from where it was, say, in the 70s and 80s. At least that's what my associates out in California tell me. It's nowhere near like it was. They still repping their set, quote unquote. This my block, quote unquote. But it's nowhere near like it was. How does brotherly love overcoming our destruction, which is the meaning of what blood meant, turn to something twisted? Yeah, there's a book on it called Bloods, written by a guy named Robert something. Righteous Living. You can look it up online. I forgot the guy's last name. It's a book called Bloods, written by somebody named Robert. I forgot the last name, sorry. Where it gets into the history of that. When you go on YouTube talking about the history, it's called, the YouTube video is Bloods and Crips, The Making in America, where there's a guy, he did study into the history of it and stated it started from the Panthers. Even Tukey, who regretted what he started, stated, brothers and sisters, it ain't start bad. The name of the guy who wrote the book is Robert Stewart, I'm told. Thank you. My lady put me onto it. Excuse me. Excuse me for that. Therefore, hear now this, thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine. What does it say? Thus saith the Lord, Yah, and thy God, that pleadeth the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thy hand the cup of staggering, the beaker, even the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again. And I will put it in the hand of them that afflict thee, that have said to thy soul, bow down, that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy back as the ground, and as the street to them that go over. Now, let's look at this picture right here. I don't know if that's why the Morse caps are red. I don't know. I don't know if that's the answer for that. As to why that is righteous living. Thank you for the question. In looking at this here, we see in a painting and so from the 1800s about 3 Caucasian males stepping on a black male. So when we read in the book of Yeshayahu or Isaiah here, and it says, about the cup of fury and staggering, sorry. He will put it in their hands that afflict you, that has said to thy soul, bow down that we may go over. Is that not that kind of thing that we're seeing right here in this picture? Where it says, and thou hast laid thy back as the ground, and as the street to them that go over. Who is Isaiah 51 talking about? Who are the stepped on, the oppressed, the drunken but not with wine, the ones filled with the fear of the Most High, the female that sees no comfort, the male that sees himself not as a leader? Who does this fit, brothers and sisters? So we want to point this out for edification purposes. Thank you for the answer in that, Sarah. Thank you, love. We want to point this out for edification purposes. What the book is saying, what it's talking about, and so forth. So I want to just go back here for a second. It says, thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets as an antelope in a net. That means they feel trapped. They feel no way to get up out of that. There was a song back in the 1990s, right? Where you going to be 5 o'clock in the morning? Outside on the corner. You better get yourself together. That's all the singing I'm going to try to do. That was the chorus of a song while I was a teenager. You're going to be outside on the corner at 5 a.m. And the sister is saying to the brother, get yourself together. That was a song, brothers and sisters. It says this: they are full of the fury of the Most High, the rebuke of thy God. Therefore, hear now this, thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine. You know, and there's no disrespect intended. Do you know I see the sons of Israel here that have a warrior spirit that's been converted and twisted to become gangster? For you to want to walk around with beads on, making sure you're in uniform, and no disrespect intended to the brothers and sisters who are in that life, if you will, who want to change, but feel like the scripture says, as an antelope in a net that's caught up and don't know no way out of that lifestyle. You know, they make sure their bandanas or their flags, as they call it, are clean. You cannot be, quote unquote, flagging, and even in that gang life, with a dirty bandana. They will sit there and say, get a new one. Did you know that? Do you know that in that, they take, for the lack of a better term, pride, and make sure that it's ironed and pressed before they wrap it around their mouth and nose, like a mask during a pandemic? They make sure that their beads are properly and neatly situated. So, brothers and sisters, take that organization style, if you will, to make sure that while in the gang life, if the Bloody Crips went to as far as Belize, you're influencing other people in that. The same can be done into positivity. How your bandanas are clean, not only clean, but ironed, but your liberty and spirit dirty, is because it says they are fainted. They lie at the head of the street as an antelope in a net. They are full of here's the answer, of the fury of Yah, the rebuke of the Most High. Therefore, hear now this, thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine. Thus saith thy Lord, the Lord, and thy God that pleadeth the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thy hand the cup of staggering, the beaker, even a cup of my fury, and thou shalt no more drink it again. Is that why we see, even though not the best situations, a better situation in the past compared to 20, 30 years ago? Those who know how the 80s was, it's much better today than then. You understand? And I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee. Who are the afflictors? That said to thy soul, bow down, that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy back as the ground, and as the street to them that go over. So, when it was encouraged for us to not get along as a people, brothers and sisters, in said case, who do you see now that's heavy on that, if the cup was not passed on to the oppressors and afflictors of the house of Israel? Remember the movie Boys in the Hood? Crack wasn't a problem till it hit Wall Street. You understand? Who is going up inside the said schools and attacking the way they are, if the cup of fury has not been passed over to another nation who told our people to sit there and lie down that the other nations may walk upon it? When you find the spirit of what has happened with us, know a little bit of history, if not much of it, and understanding prophecy, we can see who is who. Who made their back like the ground that everybody else? I'll be the last. If I get son, I won't even hire mine. I know we's the last hired, first fired. And Oz don't like mine because, Oz not a racist. So I'm just going to sit there and show you, boss, what it is. See, that's the person whose memory is not going to be remembered. But Elijah McCoy, his memory will live on. The Latimer brothers, their memory will live on. George Washington Carver, his memory will live on. But the person who makes sure you got the spirit of the oppressor, ain't nobody trying to name their child Dathan, to my knowledge. Whether you speak what they call Shalamim or Lashawan Kwadash, I've met many a Dawid and many a Dawad in Israel. I met many a Shalomo and many a Shalama in Israel. I met many a Moshe and many a Masha in Israel. I ain't never meet a Datan. I've been understanding Yisrael since I was a baby. All the camps, all the visitations, all the unity days. Hey, Ak, what's your name? Even if people are spoken different by different Israelites. We ain't naming ourselves Dayton and the Byron. That's just not what it is. I've met many a Hadassah. I met many a Dina. My beautiful lady, her name is Sarai. I ain't never meet a Vashti in Yisrael. I ain't never meet a Delilah in Yisrael. I ain't never meet a Isabel or Jezebel in Yisrael. I met many Abigail. You get my point? People are going to name themselves after things that are positive. Be significant. Make that mark. My brothers with the flagging, take what Tukey talked about and exemplify it before he passed. The GDs that you see in Chicago, take what Larry Hoover is teaching you and strengthen yourself in it. These prophets were not bookworms and quote unquote educated fools where all they know is the Hebrew verb and the noun over there, and I must make sure my two-tone turban is matching right on the Sabbath. Isaiah said he's of unclean lips in the midst of a people of unclean lips. There you go. Speak to your people, brother. I'm told from my lady that the Vice Lords, another gang out of Chicago, correct me if I'm wrong, branched from the Crips when they had issues with the police. I'm saying all of that to say that people, as a people, we were always tribal. We were always cliquish. We have to make sure that we're not enemies while you're clicking with those who are familiar spirit with you. Black men, this channel is not about promoting quote unquote racism. The original shut the F up N-word was Nancy and Becky. Because Sharice, Shaquana, Tamika, and Ayana is the woman we see here, brothers and sisters. And she has trust issues in wondering about issues with the said black man. We have to understand the pain of such and know how to address such, brothers and sisters. Sisters, read the Willie Lynch letter. If it was written by some Ghanaian dude that was a college teacher or whatever, or whether it was an actual speech made in the 1700s, we make that Willie Lynch letter true. We have to end that cycle. We have to acknowledge what the prophet here has stated, where it says, awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem. But when it says stand up, we can't be on our back, letting everybody just walk all over us. Let us go on, brothers and sisters. Isaiah 52, 1 through 2. Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake thyself from the dust. Arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. What you're seeing there is a picture of me in the sideway, but mainly a picture of my lady Sarai, where it says, put on thy strength, put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem. You see her with the head wrap and the garments and so forth in that case. So having a daughter and knowing, and I say this in no disrespect, woman's desire shall be toward her man. What happens when she has no man? Her desire shall be toward men. I'm going to work these today. I'm going to wear something that's going to have these crashing their cars. I'm going to have every bleep, you know the B word, every bleep man is going to be looking at my A when I step outside. That's low self-esteem. You don't want polygyny, but you want the next woman's man, pardon me, to admire where you defecate from. Her man want me. I don't want him. I'm going to play him. You understand? So, brothers and sisters, in this particular case, awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments. When you read in Isaiah 3, it said the Most High would take away the bravery of the anklets and the fillets and the pennants and the head ties and the sashes and the corselets and all of those kind of things. And instead of it, nakedness. And the thought is, well, you know, it's hot. Remember that song, by Queen Latifah? She's what she's into, and she said she had on cut-off shorts because it was crazy hot. And the guy, Vinny from Naughty by Nature, is shown in there touching her behind. And she said she turned around red. One of them was catching her ass. And the little one said, because you don't see him as a man, and is not trying to snap on Queen Latifah. And the little one said, yeah, me, B-word, and laughed. The name of the song being Unity. It said, she puts him dead in his eye. It said, who you calling up B-word? So what imagery is being portrayed, brothers and sisters, when dealing in uncleanness? Is that wifey material that you would want to bring home? Or is it what grandma said, when you see them in the club, you leave them there now? Which do you do? Which do you portray yourself as? I have a 16-year-old. I told my princess very candidly, boys your age may have been already sexually active. You don't have to sit there and let a man know what you have. Because if he didn't know it as a boy through a magazine or a DVD in weird pornography, or wasn't given the Bird and Bees song from his mom or dad, or both, you need not be his teacher in that. She understood where I was coming from in that case. Sisters who put on their garments are treated differently. Yes, we know some violate the point of the garments by their actions or their language or their attitude. But we want to do what it says here. Awake spiritually. Awake physically. Uri, it says. Like Shemuel, Samuel, Moshe, Moses. Want to get your attention, and yeah, I'm really talking to you. So what it's saying is awake. Put on thy strength. Now put on your raggedy garments. O Jerusalem, the holy city. For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake thyself from the dust. Arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck. So now when you go in Daniel chapter 12, and many that sleep in the dust of the earth shall arise, that's what it's talking about. It's not talking about my mother coming from the ground, from the burial place in Linden, New Jersey. That's not what that's talking about in the book of Daniel. When it says right here, shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck. Many, sadly, and I say this in no disrespect to any teachers, who teach that Daniel chapter 12 is a physical matter of reincarnation and coming back into the earth. That's not what that's talking about. It's talking about us, the seed of the house of Israel, shaking the dust off of us and taking the bands of our captivity off of us. Spiritually and physically, emotionally, and in other aspects. Because when your spirit and emotions is in a good place, others will be like, why are you so jipper? It bothers the people who don't have that comfort. Next slide. Isaiah 51, 3-4. For thus saith Yah, you were sold for naught, and you shall be redeemed without money. For thus saith the Lord God, my people went down aforetime into Egypt to sojourn there, and the Assyrian oppressed them without cause. Now, I use the map shown here on how Abraham went into the land of Egypt, brothers and sisters, in this particular case. Jacob and his family later on going into Egypt. When it says the Assyrian oppressed them without cause, brothers and sisters, for those who know the history, the Assyrians in part were tributary to the Egyptians, who were the people who are oppressing the children of Israel in the captivity. Excuse me, for those who know that history. So we want to point that out for edification purposes. Isaiah 52, 5-6. Now, therefore, what do I hear, saith Yah, seeing that my people is taken away for naught? They that rule over them do howl, saith Yah, and my name is continually all the day is blasphemed. Therefore, my people shall know my name. Therefore, they shall know in that day that I, even he that spoke, behold, Hineni, here I am. What you see on the side there is from the movie Colombo, about the Maroons that were in Brazil. And we were being taught about how to blaspheme the Most High from the people that you see there in the back by giving you another God and a new doctrine. See, this is not what was read to the slaves, brothers and sisters. They called it the Old Testament for a reason. They did not say, shake yourself from the dust. What they said was, lay down so that we may walk over. Why do you think it was a crime for us to know how to read? That's what I'm asking. Why do you think it was a crime for us to know how to read? I didn't see the new edition of Roots, but I remember the first one that came out in the 70s. How can it be a crime to teach them how to read? And if they can read, that means they're able to be learned. They can be taught, says the lady in that one. For those, I'm paraphrasing. The guy in there said, a slave is ignorant. He eats, he sleeps. He eats, he's happy. Now, if he is allowed to know how to read, he becomes sad and miserable. And that's not good. That guy who said that is the same person who played the professor in Gilligan's Island. I know I'm talking about a movie, but it's the truth. The guy said in the movie Roots, which made a whole big change I heard in the 70s to people, a slave is ignorant. He eats, he sleeps, he works, and he's happy. But if you teach him how to read, that will change. That's not good. According to what he's saying, it's not good. Every person from Nat Turner to Gabriel Prosser, and I go so far as to say Harriet Tubman, who were a problem, knew how to read. Why do I say Harriet Tubman, though some say she was illiterate, did know how to read? Because I find it hard to believe that she had so much help from the people in the Underground Railroad that everybody was just there saying, watch out, don't go that way. Watch out, don't go that way. As opposed to being able to see the signs herself, literally. That's why I state such. So when we read, going all the way back here, God's going to trouble the water. You heard that song before? Wade in the water, children. Who that people coming and dressed in white? That's how that song goes, right? It must be the Israelites. And here we see Israelites dressed in white, not trying to praise ourselves in the pictures. See where we're going, brothers and sisters? Let's go on. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of the messenger of good tidings, that announces peace, the harbinger of good tidings, that announces salvation, that saith unto Zion, thy God reigneth. Hark, thy watchmen. They lift up the voice, together do they sing, for they shall see eye to eye the Lord returning to Zion. Do you know when the community went over in the 1960s to the land of Israel, that they who were the European Jews or the Khazars were literally crying, saying Israel's come back home? Did you know that? That's reported. The community of the Israelites that went to the land of Israel in the 1960s reported that the Europeans who were in the land were crying, saying Israel's come back. Everybody know Ansar Sadat's statement in the UN when he said there'll be no peace because you left black and came back white. Me and my lady, he was the prime minister of Egypt. That was like in, 1947 or 1951, one of them years. You left black, came back. So hold on. These Arabs that me and my lady saw in Egypt, while they're showing images of black people in history, did they know that they're not the true people of Kemet or Mizraim? They know it. The tour guide told us when we was inside the museum, this is when Abu Bakr and the Arabs came in. They know they're not the original people, even say, of that land of Egypt. We were shown the artwork and how they dressed. Like, that's Eastern. And the Egyptians were so very meticulous. When you study, you know the Asiatic or the Hebrews, different themselves. Let's continue on, brothers and sisters, with the time allotted. Isaiah 52, 9 through 10. Break forth into singing, sing together, ye waste places of Jerusalem. For Yah have comforted his people, we have redeemed Jerusalem. Yah have made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our God. The Panthers said the revolution will not be televised. Was Israel going back to the land televised? Nope. Correct me if I'm wrong. Brothers and sisters, did Martin Luther King in his last speech talk about, I may not make it with you, but you will be in the promised land? What is he talking about, having known the Bible? In his last speech, April 3rd, 1968, in Tennessee, where he said, I may not make it with you. He knew the powers that be that put him on was after him. He knew it. He said, I may not make it, but you will be in that promised land. So, and he believed in JC. He's a Christian. So my bloods, brothers, listen to your Damu leaders, your OGs who are telling you to change up. The Crips, listen to the legacy that Tukey left. The GDs, listen to what Larry Hoover is telling you. And the Christians, listen to what Martin Luther King was talking about. The FOI, Elijah Muhammad said the black man is like the dry bones in Ezekiel. That's Israel. Your teacher Farrakhan said the black man goes back to ancient Israel. The former leader Malcolm X said, you will be sent to the lost sheep, to a people sent into captivity for 400 years. Who and what are these people talking about? Us, brothers and sisters. So, brothers and sisters, let us arise and shine. Ain't that the song? Rise and shine and give God the glory. The Negro song, True to Our God, True to Our Native Land, by James Weldon Johnson, if I don't have the name incorrect. True to our God, true to our native land. What? You mean we ain't American? We not West Indian? No. They just threw some name on you because they ain't know what to call you. Because they were not trying to call you Israel. Shh. They'll call you everything but the child of God. And Exodus says Israel's the son of God. So let's go on and close out. Isaiah 52, 11 through 12. Depart ye, go ye forth from thence. Touch no unclean thing. So hold on. My Messianic brothers saying that Old Testament brothers don't get into certain things, that's not accurate. When you read about depart from Babylon, least you be partake of all plagues in Revelation 18. You read this in the book of Isaiah 52. Let's get back to our old book. Depart ye, go ye out from thence, touch no unclean thing, be no partakers in the plagues thereof. Go ye out of the midst of her, be ye clean, ye that be the vessels of Yah. For ye shall not go out in haste, neither shall ye go out by flight. For Yah will go before you, and the God of Israel will be your reward. Our deliverance will come by the Most High. And as we pointed out on this channel earlier, righteousness is how we're going to be established. Ezekiel 20, while I'm asking in human petition to human, those who are looking or cripping, hear the words of Tukey, who, by the way, has books on Amazon. Did you know that? Don't say you can't be an author. Tukey Williams has books on Amazon. Why don't many others? To each their own. There's a book named Monster, who was a Crip. He's doing life now for his crimes. Listen to him and his story. My brother's flagging that blue. See what happened with OG Mac of the Bloods in the Bronx. Ye who are into the Damu. Be you in Eden Ward Projects, in the Bronx, or Grape Avenue, or Pyro Avenue, brothers and sisters in Los Angeles. The prophets are speaking to us in these days and times, brothers and sisters. Touch no unclean thing. Grandma, let go of what keeps your ankles swollen. That beast is made from your grandma, when we had land in the South to clean the waste. When you take of that pork and deal with the chitlins, and have to literally separate the feces from what you intend on eating. Grandma, let that animal go, please. Great aunt, stop eating that. When your grandson finds a new way of life, stop cutting the pork up and making him think that he's not eating it. That's not a legacy to leave. Yes, certain grandmothers, elders have cut pork. I raised your mama and papa on this, and I'm gonna give it to you. And cut the pork up and gave it to their grandchildren after their grandchildren decided not to eat it. Don't do that. That's not nice, Grandma. So let's get rid of the unclean thing. Red is a beautiful color. My lady had on the red beads, but there's no gang affiliation. I'm told it's pink that she had on in beads, pardon. And brothers and sisters, blue is a beautiful color. Blue is what we're told to wear in our fringes. Blue is part of the priestly colors. Tekelet in Hebrew. Transform the gang spirit to the warrior spirit. The soldier spirit. Hebrew is Easy, Volume 3. Learn Hebrew verb patterns. Hebrew is Easy, Volume 3. You can get that book on Amazon for $8. Get your reading done for lesser than a college course. Books to choose from. Egypt Talk and Writing. From Assyria to America, Part 1, Part 2. Deuteronomy 28, 15 to 68. History untold to the masses. Israelite history as it relates to the world. I was asked, how can I be reached? Righteous Living. My number is 908 587 4841. 908 587 4841. Subscribe to the channel. Mora Yeshaya, History Lessons 2. Contact again, 908 587 4841. Subscribe to the channel, Sarah Michaela Yisrael. That's a YouTube channel. Contact 718-864-3125. Leave a comment. Shalom. That's the poetry book my lady wrote, called Chronicles of a Black Woman's Soul, In and Out of Time. And if I have permission, if I may, I would like to read the table of contents of the poetry book that my lady wrote. Here is the table of contents of the book that she wrote, read out. Demoralized. Black man. Redemption song. Demonstrative. Little Kevin. That one touched me when I read that one. Don't touch me there. Negro woman. Mother's love. Cornbread fed. Color of revolution. Black beauty. This time around. Misery. Feeling for you, feeling for me. That is the table of contents of the book right there. You can contact either myself at the 908 number you see or her at the 718, or you can get the book online, Chronicles of a Black Woman's Soul, In and Out of Time. For those who have supported my book, her book, and our Hebrew books, we say Todah and we appreciate it. For those who do know, brothers and sisters, I've been with my lady a little over a year. I have much respect for her. When we talk about and read, shake yourself from the dust and touch no unclean thing. If you got love for one another, you got to live clean. You know right from wrong. Israel. While we talk about Crips listening to Tukey and Christians listening to the last speech of Martin Luther King, and the FOI listening to Elijah Muhammad saying you're like the dry bones of Ezekiel, and Gangster Disciples are listening to Larry Hoover, Israel, me may want to listen to Sirach and the Apocrypha. He who is double in his ways shall be exposed in the congregation. So while we told as Sirach has deceased and Tuki has deceased, when you are wearing your fringes, and while the Crips are wearing their flags, their bandanas, and the Bloods are doing the same with theirs, and in California, and in Chicago, they wear their sports cap a certain way to tilt it to the side or whatever. Israel, while we walk around with the names of the 12 tribes upon us, stop playing yourself. Don't live dirty. Because we know of 3 people who trying to maybe hide behind something, and it ain't work. In our book, O House of Israel, Hophni and Pinchas, we're going to protect the ark. You done violated sisters, brothers. You done disrespected order and regulation, brothers. But Hophni and Pinchas is going to stand next to the ark and is supposed to protect. The Philistines killed them and stole the ark. Recorded in our book. Because your ways outshine your garments. You can't hide behind your tzitzit or your tassels, your fringes. Whether you wear the blue all the way around with tassels all the way around, or you use it with split garments and just put one and one and one and one, you can't hide behind it. And if you were living like Joab, dirty, stink, disrespectful, leading people into wickedness, thinking somebody can be led into wickedness, because correct me if I'm wrong, it was Joab who gave Amnon the counsel to molest and rape his own sister. What did David say? Slay him. Solomon gave the order to Benaiah. He, like Hophni and Pinchas, I'm around the ark. Benaiah, Quatalehu al Hateba. Slay him, they're on upon it. And that's how Joab went out. Because Joab, my brothers, tried to be gangster. And you seen what happened. David went out like Samson as a soldier. So you got to make your choice. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, maker of heaven and earth. Subscribe to the channel. Brothers and sisters, I can be reached 908-587-4841. All right? Most High bless. Shalom. Subscribe to the channel. Let us pray for each other, because we're all in need of it. Let us pray to the God that the slave master did not want us to pray to. Willie Lynch stated that the Romans would envy the American accepted style on slavery being done mentally. So, brothers and sisters, the Romans did not like the God of the Hebrews. As they say in Cincinnati, may More Elisha rest in peace, the teacher who was out there. Give Yehovah a try. Try Yah. And when I say try, I don't mean tempt or test. I mean more like taste and deal directly with Yah as we're supposed to. Shalom. Giving a shout out to Righteous Living, giving a shout out to Dora Yehu Ben Dora, Giving a shout out to my lady Sarah Michaela. Thank you all in this. I see there's a question from Ben Dora. Sorry. As Ezekiel the prophet, cast away yourselves all your ungodliness when we have sinned against me, and make to yourselves a new heart and a new spirit. For while you will die, O house of Israel. All right, that wasn't a question asked by Dora. That's a question in Ezekiel. I see that. Yeah, like that. We can change our ways. Shalom. Thank you for that comment, my brother.